Problem solving through frustration.
Well, greetings everyone. This is Larry from Rushing Forward Adventures. Back to you. It's been a few days. Still working on the S10 Jimmy. Repaired a bunch of wires. Doing some other stuff to it. Still haven't found the actual cause of the surging, although we might have some ideas. But the other day, as you recall, when we changed the spark plugs and the wires, all of a sudden we had a ticking that we didn't have prior before. Couldn't track it down. Well, if you'll look in this coil, see how white it is right there? That's been arcing to this ground. Not sure why my camera keeps shutting off, but if you see that white there, that's an indication of arcing to ground. And these high energy coils can sure pack a wallet. And if you look on this side, it's discolored there too. So these are not that expensive. I got a standard ignition coil from O'Reilly, and we're going to change. I'm going to change that. To change it, you got to grind these rivets off, and then they give you new bolts to put in place of it. But this here is actually the ignition module, which I also believe helps in firing the injectors. So it's possible, but if that's firing to ground and that's using it as a ground, it's maybe throwing a wrong signal to it, and causing it to, misfire on the, well, I know it was misfiring on the engine because we could tell that. But at any rate, that be where we're at right now. We ended up working on my daughter's Lumina first thing this morning. Taking the master cylinder off and cleaning it out. Had a bunch of debris and so forth in it, and put some new brake fluid in it. So at any rate, so where we're at. When we already changed the oil out of it, and the oil was black, and the oil filter was old. So definitely probably not maintained in an order it should have been, but that's where we're at. I'll bring you back when I got more. Thanks for watching. Well, folks, we're back. We're getting in a little deeper here. We got down here to the spaghetti pump and all that, and we're going to pull that pump out. Doesn't look like there's anything wrong with the nozzles, but the regulator's never been changed. And I do have a problem with fuel pressure regulation. Plus we got one of the brackets off the old coil. So we've been just doing all kinds of stuff here, folks. But at any rate, we got to get this apart and put the new coil on it. But we're going to get this CSFI unit out of there, and there's a regulator on the back side there. You might be able to see if I shine it on there. It's all black, but that's what it is right there. Well, yeah, he's pointing down to it, but you still can't see it. But anyway, that's it there. Clips on. At any rate, says you're supposed to be able to maintain 55 psi for 5 minutes. As soon as you shut the key off, the pressure drops. It shuts off. It goes down to 0. So we're starting there because that wasn't that expensive. But I don't think that's my surging problem. Could be. Not saying I think that. I don't know if that's a surging problem or not. Might be. But that's where we're at now. I'll bring you back with more. Thanks for watching. Greetings, everyone. We're back. We got the intake mounted back on. We're doing some other stuff. Got the coil mounted on the bracketry with the ignition module. Been doing some other stuff. Had to order some more parts that didn't come in till today. And we got the upper intake plenum and all that mounted back on, and so that's where we're at this point. Hopefully when we bring you back here in a little bit, it's running. But right now we're in the process. I want to clean the grounds that go to the frame, and we found where it bolts down, but getting to it's going to be a different story. So yeah, at any rate, say hi, Steven.
Yeah.
We will commence, and I'll bring you back when we got more. Thanks for watching. Sorry, I don't know why the dang thing keeps doing this, but it sounds pretty good. I don't hear a heavy clatter. It don't seem to be running too bad. Thanks for watching. Say hi, people.
Hey.
This is my youngest, Shelby. Alright. Well, greetings, folks. I told you we'd bring you back when we took a test drive in it. And we're monitoring some stuff. I don't think you can see that in that, but at any rate, I'm monitoring some stuff as we head around drive. And yeah, we do have our seat belts on. See, he's got his on, I got mine on. At any rate, see it, but we already got 11% and 10% long-term fuel trim. Short-term is not terrible. intersection, you can turn right, go right to.
Yep.
Bring it up to about 50. Work we've done, we still haven't gotten rid of the surgeon. But what gets me is if you see that CMP retard -10, I'm thinking that has to do with the sequential multi-port injection on this. And if it's stuck at -10, don't seem to change, and I would think that it needs to inject the fuel early, not later, but it kind of runs pretty good. Now we're at -9. Let's see what it does when you accelerate. Goes back to -10. I guess I need to find out what that CMP stands for and what it's supposed to be, because it seems to me that it should be advanced. Well, we're gonna get some transmission fluid as it's low, but I got to do some more research and see what that CMP is supposed to be, because it's just ranges from -9 to -10, and it seems to me like it should be advanced. So we'll be back to you. Thanks for watching. Well, greetings everyone. The toy's back in the shop here. Give you some news on it. I did find out what the surging issue was, and apparently I'm a esteemed graduate of the Cranial Rectal Insertion Institute, because while thinking about it in my chair one night after studying Humble Guide of Stupidity, little lights started shining through the crack between my cheeks, and I kind of figured out what was wrong with it. On these vehicles with this automatic transmission, the 4L60E, they have a lockup converter in them. And at the point when the converter would lock up under, just normal driving, it's when it would start surging. Well, I didn't notice that the transmission speed didn't vary much, but the engine speed was varying quite a bit, which led me to believe that possibility, even though the transmission was data was reading that it was locked up, was maybe slipping. Well, I'd checked the transmission fluid several times and hadn't thought about it. But a little characteristic about these transmission dipsticks especially, but it can also be with any engine that uses a level indicator, as a dipstick as a level indicator. I'll pull this out, and now understand I have filled this, but if you'll notice, it's even right now, but the thing you got to watch for on these is you're supposed to check them with it idling and warmed up. Well, splash in the fluid will cause it to come up on one side. So if you only looked at the one side, you may think it's got fluid in it. You got to pay attention all the way around, because when the end actually goes down in the fluid, it should cover both sides of the dipstick, not just one. Now the engine's not running right now, so that'll actually go down some when the engine is actually running. But any rate, to give you an idea, it was 2 quarts low. And we got that filled up, and that took care of the surging problem. Now, that's not to say I don't have some other issues. I do. But the main thing was the engine surging, which turns out it was actually the transmission that was causing. When the torque converter was trying to lock up, it wasn't holding enough pressure to it to because even though it's electric switch, it still controls a valve in there that applies pressure, and when the demand for pressure outweighs the fluid that can be delivered, then it has a detrimental effect on the definitely the driving quality. But at any rate, so I was happy to find that and get that taken care of. But I've still got some ground issues, like when you turn this turn signal on, the right side turn signal, it actually, if you have your fog lights on, it'll flash the fog light too. And because there's obviously a bad ground there, which it goes back behind the battery, which the intermittent ABS problem might be in. There's a relay and fuse block and all that stuff mounted right here behind the horn, or in front of the horn, which is all underneath behind the battery, which they have problems with those relays because it's a real intermittent problem with the ABS, and it has to do with power, which I have cleaned the frame ground. I have cleaned the body grounds that I could reach, but this body ground here, which is a primary body ground, because one of the larger cables, this one right here, goes to the front here, which you can't see, but I need to clean that. Definitely need to clean that. But I've driven it for a little bit, trying to get a few little miles on it, because I'm going to be changing the oil again after all the stuff that come out of I mean, that oil was black as coal, and a lot of dirt and stuff in the oil. And amazingly, that Fram oil filter, when it come off, it weighed a few pounds more than it would normally. So obviously the engine wasn't maintained as well as the interior of the S10 Jimmy here. I mean, the interior is just, I mean, not tore up and so forth like that. It's really nice inside there. So that's where I'm at now. I'm getting ready to pull the battery out here, and because I need to get back here to the relays that are back in here, and see if we can't find some more items. So tell you what, I'll bring you back when I get some of the battery out and some of the other stuff out of the way and show you what I'm talking about. So at that point, thank you much for watching, and I'll be back to you shortly. Well, I'm back. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I think you can see that there. Here's the ABS relay, tower relay, and there should be 2 fuses underneath this, which I gotta release the lock here and get that up. Okay, see, there's a 10 amp and a 30 amp fuse. All right, and that plug goes down there. But the ground I was talking about, I don't know if you can actually see that. Right there beside that wire, where it's at. Which I took some of these wires out of the way, but I can't get them all out of the way. But it's right there, and that looks pretty nasty. But in the process of doing that, I noticed another thing. You get the positive connection, rusty, and it's barely making connection on the positive, and then the ground is half covered with the rubber because it's not in its housing properly. So well, all that can cause wild problems. And there's even corrosion on that ground, which is kind of unusual to get corrosion on the ground. It's normally rust problems, but I mean, don't get me wrong, there's rust there, but well, I don't think I have to go any further than that. Look at that, that's blowed. It melted in too, so okay. Well, seems to me like the ABS light would be on all the time. Wow. Okay. Well, we found one problem. I'll bring you back when I got more. But it looks like I got some major maintenance to do here with the grounds and the connections and all that stuff. So, well, I'm back, and a little bit more information. I found out that little diaphragm right there, supposed to be a vacuum diaphragm, is what's used to engage the front axle for the four-wheel drive. I don't think that vacuum chamber is going to hold any vacuum. I did take that loose. I haven't cleaned the ground yet. There. Pretty rusted and pretty corroded. Then I also found this, looks like either a junction box for positives, or I don't know, it's got pretty heavy positives on it. So I need to take the cover off of that and see if those are corroded, but I don't know, seeing how much rust is down here, it's possible, anything's possible. But I wasn't too worried about the four-wheel drive until I was getting ready to go over to Attica. But obviously the cable moves, so evidently I can engage the front axle. from what I understand, they make aftermarket kits where you can actually run a cable inside of the cab where you can manually engage the front differential. I know that the transfer case does engage, so because I can hear that engage, and it turns the front drive shaft. So we'll contemplate that and decide how I'm going to do that, and kind of find out what the cost is of one of them diaphragms. If they're not too much, I'll probably just go back that way. But if they're too expensive, I'll look into the cable option. So, hey, the more we look, the more we find. Oh well. We'll see what we can do. We'll get her going anyway. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Well, we're back. We got her all back together, getting ready to put the headlight in, headlight bucket in. Cleaned all the grounds, cleaned the big bus fuse, cleaned. Well, I don't know why it says it's got 22%, but the battery just died. Anyway, real quick, we're putting the headlight bucket in. Battery's back. Well, greetings everyone. This is Larry from Rushing Forward Adventures back to you. More action on the Jimmy. Battery kept dying the other day, and I couldn't get it to record. But at any rate, we got this all back together. I didn't go ahead and buy an actuator, vacuum actuator for the front axle drive cable, because ultimately I want to use it for off-road games, and in that instance I might actually put a manual push-pull cable on it so I can manually engage the front drive. We have went ahead and checked the fluids in the front and rear differentials and added a little bit. Didn't require much to fill them up, and transfer case is full, of course. I think it uses the same fluid as the transmission, so but it come gushing out of there when he pulled the plug out. So it was definitely full. What we're doing now is I have re-glued the mirror on the windshield that has fallen off. Waiting for that to cure. But we got intermittent code for the right front wheel sensor, wheel speed sensor, which we need to investigate, and an intermittent P0452 code for fuel tank pressure sensor. Well, as you recall, I had to repair all that wiring to the fuel tank, or a lot of it for the fuel pump, and well, the fuel pressure sensor is right there in the tank too, so I don't know if some of the wires are broke or chafed or tore up that go to the fuel pressure sensor. It's just intermittent. It doesn't always light up check engine, but sometimes it does. So at any rate, we're going to look into that. But I got a little bit of a growling, and I'm suspecting that it might be in the drive shaft, which we're going to pull the drive shaft out. I felt the caps on the front. Now these are what they call an injected molded U-joint from the factory, which they basically inject holes into the grooves of the U-joint bearing from the yoke that it mounts into, and when that plastic cures or hardens, then that's what locks in the U-joint caps. Well, the only way I know to check those for aside from looseness, which they're not loose, none of them's loose, is to check them for heat. If you drive it just a little bit, if the caps are warm and the other ones are not, or you have caps that are hotter than the others, then that normally indicates that there's a problem with that, either the needle bearings in that cap or lubrication issues, that since they're non-greasable, something you gotta worry about and consider. So on the front U-joints of the rear drive shaft, there were 2 bearing caps that were a little bit warmer than the other ones. Don't know that that means they're actually bad, but since we got to check that, technically check that, excuse me, is to pull the drive shaft down. And since I'm going to pull the drive shaft down, that would be the prime time to look at the wiring that goes up to the fuel tank. Maybe I'll be able to stick my head up in there and actually see the sensor and the wiring and all that. See if it's plugged in, if it's not corroded, and then track the wires back. Because I know that whole loom and everything, I can't recall if I showed that mess that was back there or not. But that's where we're at now. We're working on it. I've actually driven it a few days. Drives pretty nice, actually. And but the reason I suspect the U-joint is because it'll growl under acceleration, and then as soon as you let off of it, it's not as prominent. Now, that could be also rear end noise. However, the growl is a mild growl. It's not a heavy growl, and the fact that the differential was full of fluid, or pretty much full of fluid, and I didn't see, actually looked pretty clean and clear on the fluid. I don't think it's a bearing. I think it's a U-joint. But more to come on that. I'll bring you back, and we'll give you some more information when we get there. So say hi, Stephen. Stephen's
Hello.
helping me out today. So we did change the thermostat in his S10 Blazer, and we're working on this S15 Jimmy. I know I keep calling it an S10 Jimmy because I'm S10 Blazer, but I guess the GMCs were S15s. But anyway, you know, potatoes. Oh well. Thanks for watching. More to come. Have a wonderful day. Well, folks, we're back. Okay. Little insight on the right front wheel speed sensor. Okay. I checked if you'll notice that connector right there, I checked the resistance. Should be 1,000 to 15 to 2,000 ohms. It has 1,146 ohms. That's all well and good. But then I noticed this area right here that is scraped and cut and so forth like that. So I hooked up my ohm meter to that and started flexing that, and didn't get a variance of the reading. So then I started continuing and looking at this sensor, which to get to this you got to take all the brakes and all that stuff apart. But this is the sensor, and you can't really see it at this point, but you might be able to. On the back side of this right here, which you can't see. I'm sure you can't see it. Well, maybe if I get the sensor out, you'll see it. But there's another part that is scraped or cut or something. Any rate, that all being said, while I had the ohm meter hooked up to that, testing it, when I'd move this section of the sensor, this wire part of it here, which by the way flexes the most because in turning, then I'd lose the resistance. So that's what was dropping out this right front wheel speed. So we've got that problem figured out. I was hoping basically it was just that wire, because I'm just going to repair the wire and stick it back together. But then another set, I said we was going to check the drive shaft, and we got the drive shaft out of it. And now the back U-joint has a hard spot in it, about right there. It's stiff, and it feels like there's actually some benelling going on, which is what the bearings do when they eat into the cross. So this U-joint is bad, definitely bad. This one feels pretty good, but I think I'm going to change them both. So hopefully that'll take care of my growling noise. As I said earlier, we did check the front diff, the transfer case, the rear differential, add a little bit to the front differential, which I've bought me a nifty little tool, so because where you got to fill it at is a pain in the butt, but bought me a nifty little tool here that screws right onto a quart or gallon of gear lube, so you can just pump it right through the tube. Stephen had told me that they were available, so I said, well, we'll see how much one was, and they're not that expensive. I think that was like $14. So that's well worth the investment if you're trying to put gear lube in a differential or a transfer case. That is indeed the way to go. So like I said, it's getting a little bit late to be. Looks like the Jimmy's going to sit in the garage another day. But I'm going to try to get this wheel speed sensor out of there. Doesn't look like I'm going to get them clamps loose, but we'll see what we got to deal with here. I had him spin the wheel bearing. The bearing sounds pretty good, so I don't think we have a problem there. So, well, I will bring you back when we got more. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Well, with much effort, we got the sensor out. We ended up having to cut it because it was the one clamp wouldn't come loose. But this area here is where I was talking about. And if you'll notice, the ohm meter is jumping all over the place. Now, if I let that set stable, I'm not moving the wires, but see, as soon as I bend this or twist this sensor, it loses connection. So they're not too bad online, but trying to get one local it'd be expensive, and then they'd still have to order it. So looks like it's going to be in here a few days, because I'm going to order it online. I'm not going to pay the prices they want for this stuff here. So tomorrow is supposed to be another wonderful day, and of course by the time I get all the parts, it's going to probably be back down in the 40s, but we will see. Thank you all for watching. More to come. Have a wonderful day.